With the draft over, I figured I would do something a little bit different and give a quick 30-second rapid fire opinion of every NFL team entering the 2023 season. What do I think is going to happen? What is this team's future? What is their current trajectory? I'm just going to do a quick rapid fire based on the logo that I see, starting with the Arizona Cardinals. So, wow. I really think Arizona at this point, they're in the beginning stages of building a complete super team. They get Paris Johnson Jr., the franchise left tackle. They're going to have 2 top 10 picks next year because they own Houston's. The main question with them, what do you do with Kyler Murray and that ridiculous contract? Does Kyler Murray play next year, or do you go full tank mode, try and trade Murray, and then possibly draft Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. in the top of the first round? This team, they've got a lot of huge decisions, but what happens with Kyler Murray? Does he even play next year? That is the number one question. The Atlanta Falcons drafting Bijan Robinson, I think that's a fine pick, but the problem here is the quarterback situation. You know, there's really no guidance. Is Desmond Ridder the guy? We didn't see enough last year. I don't think he is. What are they going to do? I don't know. They're kind of in a weird spot because they don't have a quarterback, but I do think the Bijan Robinson pick was fine. I am fine with teams drafting running backs in the first round. The Baltimore Ravens, you've got Lamar Jackson back. You've got new weapons. They're probably going to be in the playoffs at minimum. And personally, the Zay Flowers pick, not a fan of it. I think Jordan Addison is way better. You can't be drafting a guy that's 5'9" in the first round, but it is what it is. Baltimore will be back in the playoffs next year. How far will they go? You know, Lamar Jackson struggles. We'll see with them. The Buffalo Bills. So the Bills, I think next year, or this year, whatever you want to call it, 2023 is the year for them to win the Super Bowl. I've predicted this. I did say they were going to win the Super Bowl last year too, but I'm sticking to it this year just because it seems like the way the NFL works, you know, you're not going to see a repeat, so we're not going to see the Chiefs win again. It feels like the Eagles are really starting to kind of get overrated by the general public, so I'm going with the Bills. Josh Allen, they still have Stephon Diggs. I know there were questions, maybe he wants to leave. I do think they finally made a great pick in the first round. Seems like they always draft overrated defensive linemen. This year they draft Dalton Kincaid. He should be a really good receiving threat, possibly a George Kittle 2.0. The Buffalo Bills are going to be really good next year, but the one thing I have concerns about is the overall defense, especially in the playoffs. They always seem to be terrible. The Carolina Panthers, it kind of felt like they talked themselves into drafting Bryce Young number 1 overall. I think Bryce Young can be good. I'm just really concerned about his height. He is the exact same size as Kyler Murray, and he weighs way less. It is a big concern. He does have all the intangibles. He does have the arm strength, the mobility. The height is going to be a big issue with Bryce Young. Can he stay healthy? And overall, you know, they get Adam Thielen. They get Mingo in the second round, the receiver. They're at least giving him some weapons after trading DJ Moore to get him. But Carolina, you're looking at 5 or 6 wins. You know, they've got a rookie quarterback. It is what it is. The Chicago Bears should be much improved next year. Justin Fields continuing the maturing process as a young QB. I'm expecting, you know, huge things, maybe a little bit more passing from Justin Fields. Hopefully with Darnell Mooney healthy, you've got DJ Moore now, and you did draft and invest in the offensive line with that, when they have the 9th overall pick, or they traded back to 10. Either way, Chicago should be good next year. It all depends. How good is Justin Fields? It's like this is the time early in his career he has to make another jump. This time he has to make a jump in terms of him being a passer. Can he do that? That is the number one question for the Bears, no doubt about it. Is he really a franchise quarterback? We will see. Next, the Cincinnati Bengals. So Cincinnati's in a very interesting spot. Just looking at their roster, Joe Burrow's going to get a ridiculous record-breaking deal. Jamar Chase is going to get a record-breaking deal. What do you do with T. Higgins? Do you also pay T. Higgins? Because if you're doing that, you're investing so much money into 3 offensive players. You're going to really just have a makeshift defense throughout, Joe Burrow's entire time with Cincinnati. So Cincinnati is in a weird spot. They're going to be really good next year with Higgins, Chase, and Burrow. The running back, they did draft someone that I love. Chase Brown will be a superstar. He will be their starter by week 10 from Illinois. I think they drafted him in the fourth round. So I am really high on Chase Brown and this Cincinnati team. You would expect them to win the division. Worst case scenario, they'll guaranteed for sure get a wild card if Baltimore does win the North. The Browns, the Browns under the radar team, no first round picks. They trade up for Cedric Tillman. You've still got Amari Cooper. You've got the young superstar receiver David Bell as well. This is a team I'm really high on. Nick Chubb is really good. They're probably going to need another running back, losing Kareem Hunt. And then the defense overall, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Newsome. This is a very, very solid defense. And I also think Kevin Stefanski is actually an underrated coach at this point. The Browns, it's just going to come down to Deshaun Watson. What is going on? He had the major issue. He had the suspension. He came back really rusty. No one likes him. There's a lot of negative things going on right now with Deshaun Watson and the way his career has turned out. Can he get back to being that franchise-level quarterback? The ridiculous contract that's fully guaranteed. The trading 3 first-round picks for him. That's what it's going to come down to for the Browns. They need him to be a franchise QB and really a top 5 quarterback in the NFL based off of what they've invested into him. The Dallas Cowboys, I am really concerned with the Cowboys. I thought they should have drafted another running back. I do not think Tony Pollard can hold up an entire season getting 20 carries every game between the tackles. I do think he's a really good back if he's paired with somebody bigger. I would have liked to have seen Dallas draft Zach Charbonnet. I think it would have been a great pick. They ended up kind of drafting a tight end, Luke Schoonemaker. I thought that was a terrible pick, way too early. And same thing in the first round with Smith, the defensive tackle. Did not like that pick either. So Dallas is a team very explosive for sure. CeeDee Lamb, seems like they're always drafting studs. That's why I like the Cowboys. But this draft, there was a terrible job. I don't know if there was just a lack of scouting. They actually had a Twitter video that were showing them kind of talking about the pick, and it was just, you could honestly like third graders talking about it. It was really bad. So I don't know what's going on with the Cowboys front office right now. I'd be very concerned if I was a Dallas fan. Obviously, getting rid of Zeke. I can't believe Zeke was washed at the age of 24. It's remarkable. But either way, Dallas should be good because they have an explosive offense. Micah Parsons possibly going to win Defensive Player of the Year. Feels like it's his turn or Myles Garrett, considering Nick Bosa just won it. I believe TJ Watt's already won it. Dallas should be good. Probably a wild card team there. Next, the Denver Broncos. Very similar situation to the Browns. Russell Wilson just forgot how to play quarterback last year, and I don't get it. And I see that maybe they might be interested in trading Jerry Jeudy if they get a first-round pick for him. I don't think they will. Sutton, they're saying they want a second-rounder for him. They really just need to keep as many weapons as possible for Russell Wilson. I've also got a concern about their running game. Javonte Williams suffering that injury, possibly not going to be 100% by week 1. So what's going on with that? Denver, it just comes down to, can Russell Wilson find it? They really need him to. They traded 2 first-round picks. They gave him a huge contract. He's taken up a lot of their cap space. That's what that situation comes down to. Next, it is the Detroit Lions. So obviously, if I was a Detroit fan, there has to be a major concern with how they evaluate talent. Drafting Jahmyr Gibbs at number 12. Even if you love Jahmyr Gibbs, you've got to maximize your potential by trading down at least 5 or 6 spots and still very easily getting Gibbs. I don't think Gibbs was going to be drafted by anyone inside of the top 20 outside of the Lions. So you at least have to trade down as much as possible. They end up taking him at number 12. It's a major reach. I don't mind drafting a running back in the first round, but that is a reach. I like this team. Aiden Hutchinson coming along on the defensive side. To me, Jared Goff is nothing special. I would not extend him. I saw there was a report that they might try and extend him. Hendon Hooker, though, I don't think Hendon Hooker is anything special. The problem is he's old, and also he's extremely raw in terms of learning an NFL system. If you look at the system that was used at Tennessee, it's like a gimmick thing. So Either way, we'll have to see with Detroit, but I'm actually lower on Detroit than a lot of people are based off of some of the front office decisions with the drafts that they've done. Next, it's Green Bay. So Green Bay rolling with Jordan Love. They give him the 1-year extension for $22 million after, what is he had one start in his career. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I know they drafted him some weapons. They got a few tight ends in the draft. You know, it is what it is. I don't think Green Bay is going to be anything special next year. They draft the defensive pass rusher from Iowa. Look, we can't really speculate. We don't know how good Jordan Love is. Maybe he'll turn out to be really good, but I would be shocked. I'm guessing Green Bay will probably be 7-10 or 6-11 next year. Next, it's Houston. So Houston did an amazing thing in the draft. They got a superstar pass rusher. They got their franchise quarterback, C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson. They should be good eventually. We'll have to see what they do next year. Maybe they could draft Marvin Harrison Jr., but they are on the path to possibly having multiple deep runs into the playoffs. Will Anderson is a legit superstar, and CJ Stroud, I believe he will be a franchise quarterback. The Indianapolis Colts, they made a major mistake, in my opinion, drafting Anthony Richardson 4th overall. I don't really see much of a difference in comparison when looking at Anthony Richardson versus Will Levis. They're both huge risks. One of them got drafted 4th overall. One of them went in the 2nd round. So I don't understand that. If you watched college football, Anthony Richardson, major accuracy issues. He lit up the combine, but that really doesn't matter when it comes to being a quarterback in the NFL. So I was surprised Indianapolis took him. You know, they have a decent roster. They've got a few good offensive linemen. You've got Jonathan Taylor. You've got Michael Pittman. And they always seem to have a solid defense, but I do think they made a catastrophic issue drafting Anthony Richardson at number 4. Next, it is the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this is a team very easily going to win the AFC. You've got Trevor Lawrence, who certainly is playing for a mega super extension going into his 3rd year. And Calvin Ridley, he should be fine. He'll probably put up 1,200 or 1,300 yards very easily. Lawrence will continue to mature. Maybe he'll receive a few MVP votes because they're going to be facing some bad teams in that division multiple times. They'll make the playoffs. Maybe they'll win a game. Who knows? Maybe they make a run. I don't see it, but it might happen. Next, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. So I was kind of surprised with the Chiefs. I thought they had a very bad draft, just a lot of real bad picks, not good value. That pass rusher from Kansas State, the receiver from SMU, I think, So overall, Kansas City, they're pretty much playing with house money at this point. They just won the Super Bowl. So even if they struggle this year, it's really not going to matter. I mean, you just won. I'm guessing they'll probably disappoint relative to expectations. They'll make the playoffs, but my guess is not make the Super Bowl. Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the NFL, of course, so that always helps. Next, it is the Vegas Raiders. So Vegas is your prototypical 8 or 9 win team, I'm guessing. You know, Jimmy G, he'll be decent. You've got Josh Jacobs, who had a breakout year last year. You know, drafting Tyree Wilson. I like Tyree Wilson, especially against the run, and he should also generate pressures. Let's be honest, guys, this team's going to be involved in a lot of really fun, high-scoring games, but they're going to finish the season 8-9 or 9-8. That's just the reality of the situation. I actually love the fact that they traded Darren Waller. It's just at a certain point, if you're not going to be healthy, I mean, there's no sense in counting on a dude, if he keeps getting injured, and they drafted Michael Mayer. That is a great pick by them. I do have high hopes for their offense. Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams, now bring in Mayer. That is a decent team. But again, I see 8 or 9 wins. Maybe they go 10-7. Next, it is the Chargers. So with Justin Herbert, thought they made a catastrophic mistake. I just do not understand drafting Quentin Johnston when you already have Mike Williams. Also, Keenan Allen is getting older. I would have loved the smaller receiver at that point. I think Jordan Addison would have been a perfect fit. I just don't get it. I don't know what they were thinking. I even think maybe a tight end like a Dalton Kincaid would have been a better fit. But either way, listen, they're going to have to pay Herbert a ton of money. It's kind of not a good situation considering right now is their window. They're going to have to allocate a ton of cap to their quarterback in the future, and you're drafting Quentin Johnston. That's just not a good pick. The other issue is Joey Bosa gets injured every year, and they've got a ton of money wrapped up in him. They've got money wrapped up in Khalil Mack. He seems to get injured a lot now. But either way, they should be decent next year because they have a good quarterback and an overall good offense. The Austin Eckler situation is what it is. I completely agree with them. I'm not giving Austin Eckler a big contract. He's simply too old for a running back, and he's taken too many hits. Next, it is the Rams. So what are the Rams going to do? I mean, they're in a wacky situation where people are saying they're going to actually tank for Caleb Williams. But yeah, I mean, they have Matt Stafford, who certainly is at the point in his career where he needs to win right now. He's a veteran. Cooper Kupp is getting up there in age. He's trying to win right now. So I really don't understand the future of this team. I guess they're going to try and win. I think they're probably going to go 8-9, maybe 7-10. I mean, we'll have to see what Matt Stafford has left. I don't think Stafford has much left at this point. And really, it wouldn't matter if he did or didn't. I mean, they made that trade. They got Stafford. They won the Super Bowl with him. It is what it is. Seems like Sean McVay is planning retiring every single year, kind of a weird thing there. And realistically, I don't know the future of this team. I guess they're going to go for it. They kind of have to. I mean, they've got a quarterback who's a veteran and who's aging, but we will see. Next, it is the Miami Dolphins. Very, very tough situation. We don't know what's going on with Tua Tagovailoa. If he suffers another concussion, will his career be over? It's brutal. I mean, you just got to hope. He's a young quarterback. He looks the full part like a possible franchise QB. And they do have amazing offensive weapons. The 1-2 punch of Tyreek Hill and Waddle. But yeah, just kind of a weird situation with Tua and the concussions. It is very scary. But if he is healthy throughout the full season, I do see this team as a wild card team that can make some noise and be a really fun offense. Next, it is the Minnesota Vikings. So the Vikings, another team, it just kind of seems has no guidance right now. They got very lucky last year when you look at their record versus close games. Like, they won every single close game, and they still lost in the first round of the playoffs. Kirk Cousins, he's okay. I mean, he's a guy that puts up decent stats, but he's not going to win you anything big, it feels like. And you do have Justin Jefferson there. They're going to have to make a decision on him. Do you give him a massive contract and allocate a bunch of your cap for a receiver? But I do love the draft pick of Jordan Addison. That was a great job. Jordan Addison's going to be really good with them. If I was them, I really would have looked at drafting Will Levis personally because, I mean, Kirk Cousins is old at this point. I believe he's 36. Next, it's the New England Patriots. The question with them, what's going on with the quarterback situation in Mac Jones? I do think Christian Gonzalez, amazing draft pick. They hit it out of the park. Also, their second-round pick, White, the defensive pass rusher from Georgia Tech, another good pick. But this conversation starts and ends with the Patriots, at the quarterback. Do they believe in Mac Jones? Does he take a step forward? He took a bad step back last year. I guess we will see. And then really, what do they do at receiver at this point? They need a true number one receiver. The New Orleans Saints, getting Derek Carr, I guess we'll see. To me, they've got 8-9 or 9-8 written all over them. Just kind of seems like an average team. Maybe they get Michael Thomas back. If he's healthy, you do have Chris Olave, who's solid. But overall, I did not like their first-round pick, Brian Bresee. Just too much of an injury risk. We will see what happens there. Next, it is the Giants. The Giants, to me, kind of overperformed last year. I see them coming down to earth. They gave Daniel Jones that contract, but it really wasn't that terrible. I believe there's a team opt-out after 2 years, which is exactly what I thought was going to happen. So we'll see. Overall, to me, I think deep down, Giants fans know Daniel Jones really is not the guy that's going to lead you to an NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl, but it's a thing where they kind of overperformed, so you have to like him. He's kind of a dual threat. I mean, I don't hate Daniel Jones. I just don't think he's going to take them to that next level. The Jets with Aaron Rodgers, that should be really fun. We'll have to see what happens with that. Probably a wild card team. You do have Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall if he's healthy, Sauce Gardner on defense. They've got a lot of talent, and I would say, definitely a wild card team for them. The Eagles, I'm going to say probably really underwhelming next year. I'm just not seeing it, and I think the whole narrative that the Eagles are these great drafters and these wizards, It's completely ridiculous. If you think the Eagles had a good draft, you're an NPC. Jalen Carter is going to get 3 sacks, and then he's going to drive 500 miles per hour on the freeway. He is completely overrated. I have no clue how the narrative became that he is the best defensive player in the draft. He had 6 career sacks. It is unbelievable. And then taking Nolan Smith at 30, he's injury prone. I mean, we'll see if he can stay healthy. He's undersized as well. So, yeah, I'm just not buying the Eagles. I think their whole Georgia thing is a complete gimmick. And they're going to probably be worse next year. They'll still make the playoffs, but people are going to be surprised. It's like, whoa, everyone thinks they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to happen. Next, it's the Steelers. So for the Steelers, like a lot of these teams, it comes down to the quarterback. Is Kenny Pickett really that franchise QB? They're going to learn a lot this year. They have the weapons. You've got George Pickens. You've got Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris. It just comes down to, is Kenny Pickett going to take that next step into becoming a franchise quarterback? And then they did draft Joey Porter Jr. in the second round. They got great value on him there. The 49ers, what is up with Brock Purdy and Trey Lance? Is Brock Purdy going to be ready week 1? Will it be Trey Lance? I still think Trey Lance probably has more overall talent than Brock Purdy, but his career, it seems like, is almost basically over. I mean, it's weird what happened to Trey Lance, so I would imagine they're going to roll with Brock Purdy if he is ready by week 1. They've got a completely loaded roster. They very easily could make the Super Bowl. We don't even have to go over all the players that they have. The Seahawks, I'm guessing, probably a little bit of an underwhelming year. I don't really know how to judge Geno Smith because I've never seen anything like it where a quarterback is a virtual bust for a decade and then comes out of nowhere and has like a top 5 season. So I don't know what to make of Geno. I do love the draft pick of JSN. Getting him at number 20 overall is phenomenal value. And he should slide right in as a, number 2 wide receiver with Tyler Lockett possibly getting older along with DK Metcalf. So they definitely are building something there. Also, Witherspoon at number 5. I have no issues with it if he is a franchise cornerback. Next, it is the Buccaneers. I think they will fully tank this year. By week 6 or week 7, it'll become obvious that they are committed to trying to get Caleb Williams as the number 1 overall pick in the draft. You've got Baker Mayfield, you've got Kyle Trask. Seems kind of a similar situation like to Carolina last year, but I do think the Bucs will fully embrace a massive tank. It gets interesting because you still have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. What happens to those guys? Does Mike Evans demand a trade? It might get ugly in Tampa Bay, but I do think they need a tank. Tennessee is an interesting case. I loved the Will Levis value, getting him in the second round. Obviously Malik Willis doesn't look like he's going to be the guy. He was drafted in the 3rd round. And then you also have Ryan Tannehill. Who knows what's going to happen with him? They've got a real weird quarterback room. The Treylon Burks pick last year, I said it. It was a complete waste of a pick. They never should have done it. But it will be interesting to see what they do with Will Levis and if he gets any starts. And then the Washington Commanders. I think it's going to get pretty ugly in Washington this year. I think they might end up tanking for Caleb Williams. Sam Howell, what do we make of him? He was like a 5th round pick. Now he's going to be their starter. Ron Rivera seems like a complete lame duck coach. I don't know how he still has a job. The Commanders haven't been good forever, and he's had like a 4-year run with them. So who knows at this point? Chase Young, they decline his option. He'll probably ball out and leave them in free agency. Maybe they'll trade him at the deadline. But either way, I think the Commanders are going to tank this year and try and get Caleb Williams for their new stadium, possibly in 2027 or 2028. But that is just my opinion on every NFL team right now in the 2023 offseason. Guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter.